Good morning to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here. It is Sunday, the 12th of September, 2021. I'm up in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, enjoying a little bit of family time before it's time to get back on the road and get to work. We're going to have some activity along the Gulf Coast that needs to be dealt with. I'll talk about that more in just a moment. But yeah, that's the hotel behind me. Trying to enjoy a little short family vacation in between all these hurricanes and whatnot. But the tropics call, so let's get on with it. Talk about what's happening out there. Very busy today with several areas to watch. Invest 94L, well on its way to becoming a tropical depression, more than likely. And we're going to delve into this much closer here. Then we have other systems. This is the 2-day outlook. If we broaden it out to 5 days, you can see the map gets populated with 5 areas of interest. This next feature off the coast of the southeast United States. This will take a little bit longer to develop. It's kind of a complex setup between a tropical wave, a piece of energy coming out of the deep tropics, and an upper level area of energy, upper level low pressure area. And then we have a couple of features out here, these yellows, that really aren't going to amount to much. But this one right here, later on down the road, could become a very interesting feature. We'll have to watch this closely as time progresses. But the biggest concern right now, and it is definitely that, is Invest Area 94L here in the south part of the Gulf of Mexico near the Bay of Campeche. Lots of moisture, lots of shower and thunderstorm activity. Seems to be trying to cluster and get together, at least the center of vorticity, a little bit further to the south than where this blob of thunderstorms is. I'll show you that in just a moment. But it's over warm water. The upper level winds are becoming more favorable. And this should go on to develop and become a tropical depression and a tropical storm after that. And it's not going to surprise me in the least if this becomes a hurricane. There's no reason why it shouldn't. That's not on anybody's official forecast. I want to make that very clear. That's my opinion based on what we've seen in the past with other systems that have strengthened in this area, and what we have seen just this year and last year with systems that rapidly fire up right close to the coastline. That's kind of a break from this precedence that we have seen over the decades of systems that fall apart before they hit land. For whatever reason, these last several years, systems have tried to intensify more often than not as they approach the coast. So if this becomes a hurricane, I can say I told you so, because it just makes sense considering what we have seen, the available energy that is in the area, and the fact that it's relatively small. It doesn't have to bundle a lot of energy. It's not a huge system, at least where the center of vorticity is down here. And again, I'll show you that in a moment. So this could have some pretty high impacts. Coastal flooding all along the area up here from southwest Louisiana through the Texas coastline and down into northeast Mexico. Then there is the heavy rain threat up in this region, and we'll take a closer look at that in just a moment. All right, so the vorticity that I was talking about, right now, everything is kind of elongated, and it's going to have to focus and bundle, but it's trying to do that right in this area, right in the Bay of Campeche. And once it does so, I think this thing is going to be off to the races as it moves off to the northwest and eventually to the north. And then the question is, does it come on inland over Texas? Does it still go more to the north towards Louisiana? Exactly where it comes ashore will matter in terms of direct impacts from any of the strong wind that this would have and any potential storm surge. But the rainfall is going to be a big problem as well. And where this sets up, where those heavy bands are, if it does stall out, there is definitely potential here for this to be a pretty big problem, a disaster in the making, another major flood event. How much, to what extent, that remains to be seen. But we definitely need to be watching this very closely. National Hurricane Center already issuing some key messages on this feature already. Tropical depression likely to form later today. Heavy rain across southern Mexico. That's down in the Bay of Campeche region that I was mentioning. And then that could move its way up, all that heavy rain, into Texas, Louisiana coast, with a heavy rain threat continuing across those coastal regions. And this is important, through the middle of the week. That's a long time. That's several days of the potential for heavy rain, onshore flow, coastal flooding, beach erosion. And then the third bullet point here, we could get some watches, maybe warnings, you never know, but probably just a watch, a tropical storm watch. I don't think they're going to issue a hurricane watch, but hey, maybe, we'll see. But this is something to take seriously if you live in the area. Plenty of time for this to strengthen, but it's not just about the wind. Although I think, again, it won't surprise me if this becomes a hurricane. We don't want to focus on, well, if it doesn't become a hurricane, then we don't really have to worry about it. Is that what you're saying? No. I'm saying the hurricane part would bring, obviously, more wind and surge impacts. We have to pay close attention to this because of the rainfall, the whole package, the possibility of storm surge flooding. You folks down there in Texas know, and Louisiana, even 50, 60 mile per hour onshore flow brings you a couple of feet, if not several feet, of water. So I eventually expect a storm surge watch, a tropical storm watch, maybe a hurricane watch. We will see, because this is going to bring a variety of impacts to the region. One of the reasons that I am thinking that this has plenty of opportunity to strengthen, look at this. Water temperatures in here. Let's use black to highlight this better. 30 degrees Celsius or higher, and then really, really warm right through here, knocking on the door of 31 degrees, 30 and a half. So we're talking about mid to upper 80s Fahrenheit. All of this is undisturbed. We have not had a hurricane plow through here and kind of rough all this up. And you can see that reflected very easily here in the upper ocean heat content, about in the middle of the scale. So plenty of upper ocean heat content right up to the coastline. And that's important. That means this has deep, warm water to work with all the way to the coastline. So even if it moves slowly, it won't matter. It's going to just churn up more warm water. So there's plenty of water for this to take advantage of latent heat trapped in that water, the energy in the water. So this definitely has the potential to be a big, big problem for areas that just, are tired of it. The flooding in Houston over the past several years, 6 years or so since 2015, starting with the Memorial Day flood that year, going through everything you've seen with Harvey, Imelda, the tax day, it just keeps on coming, doesn't it? And then, of course, for folks in Louisiana, just come on, give us a break here, right? But it doesn't work that way. Nature doesn't care. It's going to do what it does, and we have to react and be ready accordingly. So real quick, a look at the euro, and we can go over all kinds of models, but what good is that? This is just guidance. And I'm looking at the euro right now, the basin-wide shot. This is one of those features that's on the tropical weather outlook. This is the other one up here in the northeast Atlantic. That's actually the leftover reflection of Mindy, believe it or not. Nothing reflected just yet in this area. And then this, of course, is 94L. And then there's energy over Africa that will be coming out that will eventually develop, it looks like, in the Atlantic. So let's move this through 24 hours out. So this will be valid tonight, Sunday night. The European showing a closed system down here, so probably a tropical depression. Not much going on with this system. This is broad, very loosely organized. No big deal, well, unless you're in marine interest out there. And then there's the energy coming off in southwestern Africa, headed towards the Atlantic. So by 48 hours out, European showing this system pretty close to the Texas coastline. The GFS is a little bit more offshore. That's going to matter. The more offshore, the stronger it could get. You know how that works, right? This system really doesn't do much, and there's the impulse coming off Africa by 48 hours. Finally, by day 3, 94L coming in very close to or over the Houston area. So let me just make this really clear. On the euro, that doesn't look very strong in terms of wind and or pressure. Granted, 50, 60 mile per hour tropical storm, and you might say we've had much, much worse. But remember, the shallow waters down there, you get that onshore flow. The storm surge problems down there. Freeport, Surfside Beach, up through Galveston, Bermuda Beach, Jamaica Beach, that whole area, High Island, Bolivar Peninsula. Those regions get a pretty substantial surge with that constant onshore flow, and this coming in from the south will just push that water towards you. So it doesn't take a hurricane to give you problems similar to a hurricane. And the slow movement of it, let me just go back. This is 48, that's 72, that's 96. It hardly moves in 2 days. That's all you need to know. That is a big, big problem, kind of raining itself out there. and then it just sits there and starts to, I mean, look, there's the impulse. The energy is still over southeast Texas. 3 days, it's just sitting there. That's a lot of rainfall potential. And then, yes, you can see out here in the open Atlantic, south of this big area of high pressure, our system moving off to the west that we really have to watch. Down the road, we'll have our hands full, believe me, with 94, which would probably be Nicholas at this time, by the way. That's the next name. And then there's this feature. The Euro is not very enthusiastic about it. That finally takes shape. This is day 5, 120 hours out. And then, yes, there's that system, as I mentioned. Maybe even another feature coming off the coast of Africa. Now, one really important thing here, again, ocean heat content, pretty substantial in the Western Gulf. And, yes, plenty of it, plenty of energy out in the Atlantic for whatever comes off the coast of Africa. It will not be surprising at all to see a system ride through here and develop and become a significant hurricane, especially once it gets past about 48 degrees longitude. And if it stays south of 20 degrees north latitude by about 60 west, it could be a real problem. We'll have to wait and see about that. Lots of traffic going by to the north, as we say, with impulses. And then whatever this feature does off the southeast coast could have an impact down the road. But interestingly enough, this tweet, I'll wrap things up, from Jack. Jack knows what he's talking about here, right? And so does Eric Webb. So both of these mentioned simultaneously. Beware the merchants of panic. I like that. In your feed this week, as the long-range model forecasts start to pick up on a potential hurricane in the Atlantic that could affect land. That said, the seeds of a dangerous steering pattern are being sown several thousand miles upstream. And this is really interesting, this concept of teleconnections. And we can see what Eric Webb did with this annotation from this powerful typhoon, Chantu, or Shantu, however you say it. That energy develops this interesting wave pattern in the atmosphere that ripples downstream. So you go upstream to downstream, and this eventually helps to develop a very strong high over southeast Canada that could potentially strengthen after a break in that ridge goes by, meaning that we have to watch this. This is day 5, 6, 7. This is a pivotal part. This is a week out. There's the impulse. Let's draw it better real quick. Black. There's the impulse. The faster this lifts up and out and the ridge can build back in, the more west this comes later on. And then there's another system there. That's a week out. We'll wait and see. We have so much hurricane season left, and lots to watch. So real quick, my plans, again, I'm up here in Elizabeth City, going to spend the day with the family, which is much needed. Nice break to do. Then tonight, probably going to pack up a vehicle of some kind, and one way or the other, I'm making my way down to the Gulf Coast. It's a very complicated situation. I was originally supposed to fly down tomorrow to go meet a gentleman that picked up equipment for us after Ida, but I may just drive one of my vehicles. I've got an old Chevy Tahoe. It's a secondary Chevy Tahoe, not the one that we used all those years. That's what I'm saying. It's complicated. And I got a colleague of mine that's going to be flying into New Orleans, actually right about now. He's picking up a vehicle from a company that's lending him one, and we're just trying to put everything together to find out the best way to get the most equipment possible down to the Gulf Coast, because this system 94L kind of coming together fairly quickly after Ida. Just trying to reassemble everything and make sure we are as ready as possible. But once I know exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, I will let you know, and we will go from there. All right? All right. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll have more for you later today, probably on social media, and then a video update sometime tomorrow.